Some stories are written to be shared, others to be silenced. But then there are stories that simply appear, uninvited, bearing truths no one dares to admit they know. This one was never meant to be read aloud, not because it's false, but because it remembers someone who has already begun to fade. The story she didn't tell. London, 1811. Ash settled on the rooftops like snow, and the fog tasted faintly of ink. Miss Lillian Harrow awoke to the sound of nothing. The city outside her rented attic flat was never truly silent, but that morning it was as if the world held its breath. The gaslight outside her window burned unusually low, flickering as if reluctant to exist. She sat up, her hands trembling from some dream already half forgotten. She could not recall going to bed, or writing. Yet there it sat, her desk perfectly clean, her pen wiped and placed neatly across a small stack of parchment. Her handwriting. A title, The Hollow Wife. 20 pages in total, each line penned in the familiar curves of her own hand. She flipped through them slowly, heart quickening. It told of a woman losing her husband to an unseen disappearance, so slowly, so subtly, that she did not notice he was gone until she could no longer recall his name. Then her memories began to peel away, like wet paper. Friends vanished, family. Then her reflection. The story ended with the woman stepping into the Thames, her mind an echo chamber of forgotten promises. Lillian blinked at the final line. She was not dying, she was simply being unwritten. She laughed nervously. Sleep writing again, she muttered to the empty room. She had done it before, her dreams often bleeding into the waking hours, her hands moving in half-trances, but never like this. The story felt wrong, not poorly written. No, the prose was elegant, lyrical, even brilliant, but it wasn't hers, not really, and yet it was. She tucked it into her drawer. And that night, the candle on her desk lit itself. The next morning, Lillian paid a visit to her dear friend Margaret. They met weekly for tea, and Lillian hoped a familiar face might ground her. She knocked. The door opened. Margaret answered with a puzzled look. "Yes?" she asked politely. "It's me, Lillian," she replied, confused. "Don't be silly." Margaret's brows furrowed. "I'm sorry. I don't know a Lillian." There was no jest in her eyes. Behind her, the parlour looked unfamiliar. Different curtains, different chairs, not a speck of their usual cluttered charm. Lillian's heart seized. "Margaret," she whispered, "it's me, your friend. We've known each other for years." Margaret's expression darkened. "I think you should leave now." The door closed. Lillian stood in the cold for a long time, watching the flame in the hallway lamp sputter. When she returned home, she found the pages of The Hollow Wife stacked neatly on her bed, rewritten, revised, expanded. The woman in the story now had a name. Lillian. Lillian sought answers. She returned to the bookshop on Fleet Street, where she often browsed manuscripts. The old shopkeeper, Mr. Cartwright, greeted her with a nod. "Back again already?" he said. "Finished editing it?" She blinked. Editing what? He handed her a small printed pamphlet bound in string. The Hollow Wife, by Lillian Harrow. Dedicated. To those I must forget before they forget me. Lillian dropped it. Cartwright's smile faded. "Are you all right, miss?" She didn't respond. Her fingers shook. She could feel something slipping away, something beneath her name. She ran. When she arrived home, her own journal was filled with entries she hadn't written. Dinner conversations she hadn't had, meetings with people she didn't know, each one ending with a date and a name crossed out. One name was Margaret, another her own. Days passed. She isolated herself, refusing to write. But the story wrote itself. Words crawled onto the mirrors, into steam, behind her eyelids when she blinked. She awoke one night to find the walls of her flat lined with scrawled words in her script. She was almost gone. Over and over, on the ceiling, the windows, her pillow. She ran to the mirror. No reflection. The gas lamp outside had gone out. In desperation, she wrote a letter to her publisher, Mr. Winslow. She begged him to meet her, to remember her. She included the manuscript as proof. His reply came the next day. "Miss Harrow, I have no record of working with you. Please cease using our imprint without permission. If you continue to send anonymous fiction, I will be forced to notify the authorities." The letter was unsigned. When she turned it over, a single phrase was scrawled across the back in a different hand. "Do not speak her name aloud. It is no longer hers." That night, she tore every page she could find. She burned them in the fireplace, one by one. But each time the flames died, the ash reformed in the air, hovering, rearranging into sentences. A neighbour claimed to see Lillian pacing her flat by candlelight, eyes blank, lips moving without sound. Then one morning her door was open. The room was cold, the bed unslept. Her inkwells were shattered, her mirror was black. On the desk sat a single scrap of paper, cut roughly from the back of a drawer, scrawled in smeared ink, "If you find this story, do not read it aloud. It only remembers what we forget." She was never seen again. She was not erased, only remembered by something older than memory. The Chronicle does not forget its own. And if you find yourself writing words you do not recall, perhaps the story has begun writing you as well. Turn the page, traveller. The Chronicle has already begun.